Hello everybody. Welcome back. This is Decoding Yoga and I'm Eli Aguilar. I'm super excited and happy to have you in this fourth episode of this show when we talk about the question, the doubts, that we try to clarify what is going on in the yoga field, in the yoga world, because there are a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings about some of the topics that we learn in yoga. Today, we are going to be talking about the physical part of yoga. We have learned that yoga is a philosophy, is more than asanas. Nevertheless, asana, postures, is one of the limbs. We will talk about the limbs next week, but it's one of the, I would say it's one of the departments. It's one of the branches of the yoga philosophy, and some people sometimes think that either yoga is boring or the practice of asanas is boring, is too slow, too hard, it's only for flexible people, for strong people, or the yoga is too relaxed. But many don't know that everything depends on the style of yoga you're practicing, because there are many styles, many ways, many methods. So let's unravel more details about this. As I said, there are many ways to do it, and to give you just a little bit of context, when thousands of years ago, when yoga was practiced in India, and important, yoga has been practiced also in China and Japan and other civilizations. But let's say that India is the civilization that put together this knowledge as a system in writing. So that's why we can always refer to India as the source of yoga, but there are other civilizations that also practice yoga techniques. So that being clarified, when thousands of years ago, when the yogis were practicing, or the yogis, what they practiced actually was meditation, or they were seated in a stillness to aim to achieve that state of meditation when your brain is not completely awake but is not asleep, and you can actually listen to the answers that you're looking for. So they will do that in the stillness, in a seated, comfortable position with your spine straight, so the flow of the energy and everything is appropriate. So the best way to master something is to actually do it. So the best way to train your body to be in stillness, in a seated position for a long period of time, was to be seated in the stillness for a long period of time. So they used to practice a few postures to help them to master that requirement in order to achieve that state of meditation. So back in the days, there were only a few poses they were doing on the floor. And this is the asana part, because we will learn that in the yoga philosophy, asana actually is translated as a comfortable seated position. So when the physical practice of yoga left India and it came to the US, was one of the first country in the American continent, that's what people were doing, what is called or known as hatha yoga, which is not necessarily the right way to say it, but what people know now as hatha, was this slow pace, seated quietly, not changing too many poses. So people found that very boring. So they didn't practice any of that. They thought that was for hippies or weird people, so nobody paid attention to that. So yoga was just for hippies and weird people, right? So some people started practicing that, and there was a teacher who he was from the US. He left to India to learn more about yoga, and that was kind of like in the 80s. When he went to India, someone said, hey, you may want to check it out. This guy is teaching these things. So he went, he saw someone performing in the street, and he's like, no, that's not the yoga that I know. And they said, yeah, this is Ashtanga primary series. Anyway, this is becoming like a more historical episode, which I don't want to get there. But this is when this American teacher got in contact with Ashtanga Vinyasa, which is a style, the first style that I want to mention today. The Ashtanga Vinyasa is a method. It's a series of poses that you always practice in the same order. There are 6 series. Majority of us stay in the first series because it's quite challenging and very demanding, physically speaking. So as I said, it's a great foundation when you want to practice. And again, remember, today I'm talking about the physical part of yoga when it comes to poses. So it's a great way to set a foundation, a strong foundation to get to know poses, because you repeat the same poses every single day, 6 days a week. So you can see how your body is progressing, how your mind is progressing into these postures. There is one particular style of breathing, which is called Ujjayi breath. We train our body to move into this breath, so it is called Ashtanga primary series. This is one of the styles that our yoga teacher training courses is based on, because again, it's a great foundation. Once you learn the series, you don't need anybody to guide you, but ideally that you will need a teacher with you to adjust you, because we start retraining also the nervous system, how to overcome the barriers that the nervous system put us to stop us before our physical limitations. So with a good adjuster, your body and your mind start retraining to move in different ways and different patterns. And the primary series is great to develop strength, not only in your body, but also in your mind. It's quite demanding, sweaty, it's supposed to be very flowy, it's very structured. For people, it really works for people who like structure. This is the style of yoga that I started practicing when I started practicing yoga, because it's one set, one series, one breath. You hold the poses for the same amount of breaths until you reach the final stage, which you stay a little bit longer in those poses, and then you die in Shavasana. Done. You can just have your mat, practice it anywhere, at any moment. You don't need anybody, anything, just you, your body, your breath, and you're done. Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga. This is a style of yoga. Then we move to Vinyasa flow. When this Ashtanga again became popular, because now it's flowy, it was sweaty, and then in the 80s people were jumping around in aerobics classes and music and all that was coming. So a lot of things got mixed into the asanas, the postures of yoga, and Vinyasa flow came alive, which is a more I would say it's a free style of teaching yoga, when the teacher has the freedom to create their own flows, and one asana takes you to the other one, and then transitions, and suddenly you are upside down, or you are facing the backside of your mat, and you are flowing into this sequence of poses. It's completely open. You can practice on your own, but you will have to be very creative and basically knowing what you're doing. So with this, we will need to learn principles of sequencing to know, okay, when the hips are working in this way, is more useful if you move in the same direction, or so many things, kinetic chain, so you are careful with your knees when you're moving, if your feet are grounded on the floor. Anyway, there's so many principles of sequencing. And this is the other part where we base our 200-hour yoga teacher training course. So Ashtanga Primary Series is 50%, Vinyasa Flow is the other 50%, and then the 300-hour course we have is pure Vinyasa, because again, it requires a lot of creativity, a lot of practice. As a teacher, you need to really understand the mechanic of the asanas to sequence this, and as a practitioner, you will get surprised every time you get to practice this. So that is the second style that I would like to talk about today. And then the third one, which is one of the styles that I have fallen in love in the last years, is Yin Yoga. I teach that course by myself in Sampoornayoga, and I love it because being so fiery and so young, Yin Yoga complement my practice and my lifestyle. Yin Yoga is a slower style of yoga where you hold poses for longer. In the other styles, you will if you hold the pose, because in Vinyasa Flow, for example, there is one way is actually synchronizing breath with movement. So in past episodes, I remember I was telling you how I became in love with yoga, and actually I became in love with yoga practicing a Vinyasa Flow that it was called, or in a class that it was called Prana Flow. It was one breath, one movement, no holding poses. It was one breath, one movement for 90 minutes. It was amazing. That's what I needed back then. But so you can go from that to 5 breaths, kind of. But then when we start increasing the length of the time that we're holding the pose from 1 up to 15, 20 minutes, the challenge is different. It's time, it's stillness, it's being quiet. Your mind is the one that starts giving you a hard time, because ideally for any style of yoga, we practice it in silence, no music. We will talk about that eventually, because yoga is not a workout, it's a work-in. So we really want to incorporate that inside effect of the practice. So Yin Yoga is supposed to stress your tissues as well, your joints, your ligaments, your bones, in a different way that Ashtanga, Vinyasa, and Vinyasa Flow stress tissues. They work more for the muscles. Yin Yoga work more for these plastic hard tissues. So it is a great complement. None is better than the other one. They complement each other. They all have their own benefits, and sometimes we practice one style in the morning, another style in the afternoon. Sometimes we get to choose. Some people are very structured. They practice only one style. So these are only 3 of the styles of yoga that are out there. There are many more. But in Sampoornayoga, these are the 3 styles of yoga that we practice and that we teach. So that's why I chose these 3, because otherwise I will have to make like 10 episodes to keep talking about all the styles of yoga. So go ahead, find out what resonates with you. Read a little bit more about these styles of yoga. Read about Hatha, Hot Yoga, Power Yoga, Dharma Yoga, Rocket Yoga. So many styles of yoga. Try them out. Go to classes. Find teachers with different styles, and see what makes sense for you and for your body, what your body and your mind needs today. Maybe you will need something different tomorrow. Anyway, so I hope this is more clear. Next episode, we will be talking about yoga philosophy, and we will link what I was talking today with the yoga philosophy that we're going to be talking next episode. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for listening. Stay well, and I will hear you very soon. Bye-bye.